Hey guys, it's Barrett with the Gimme Camper. So I've had the Softopper for a couple of years now, and I still think it's one of the best options that you're going to have coverage storage in a short bed truck when you also need to use that truck to tow a fifth wheel. It's not all sunshine and rainbow, so we'll go over the pros and cons of the Softopper system for a tow rig right after this. So let's talk about the good. I've never really liked the looks of camper tops on trucks. For some reason, I've always liked the looks of the Softopper though. It's easy to put up and take down. The Softopper does keep more water out of the bed than I would expect, but I never looked at it to be an issue to keep all of the water out of the bed. I will say before this, I did use a hard tonneau cover, which I really did like, but it didn't work well as far as with the fifth wheel hitch. That being said, there was a lot more water that seemed to make it through the hard tonneau cover and get into the bed than with the Softopper. I do like that this helps somewhat with the protection of the fifth wheel hitch, but I will say that this is granted that it's just more of an out of sight, out of mind protection. It does help a little bit more that I upgraded to the tinted rear window. We'll circle back to this with the negative aspects of the Softopper, which we're actually going to go into right now. Let's talk cons. First of all, I've heard that there's reports of delays with getting Softoppers delivered here lately, which can have a negative effect on consumer reviews of the product. I didn't have any issue when I first got mine, but that was two and a half years ago. When you first set this topper up, it is pretty hard to stretch the fabric and get all the buttons to connect. This does get better as time goes on and the material stretches a bit and it gets easier. One negative aspect if you live in an extremely cold environment is that the plastic window and the rear flap can actually crack in the cold. There's also a fabric flap that does not have a window in it that some people use for this reason. Some people also view the mounting buttons in the front side of the bed as a negative point. Personally, I don't really see what the big deal is. There's only a small hole if you remove the buttons. I will say that I only use the two outside buttons on this because the inside I can't reach from standing there. I'd have to have a stool or climb up in the camper. I did that once before I thought, let me just try it without snapping that center button, and I've never had any issues with that at all. I did install the Velcro strip on my tailgate as well. This has started peeling back over the last couple of years, but I feel that this always can be replaced easily. Some people use magnetic strips instead because they don't want the Velcro on there, think that it'll mess their paint up or something. But I personally think that the Velcro is just fine. So the one last con to the Softopper is that it can be a bear to roll up. So you gotta fold that front flap up, and you know, sometimes you can have a hard time getting that loose enough to come up between the material. If you loosen those front straps, it's usually okay. But then you also have to fold up the sides and the back flap. So whenever you do all that, it's not usually that big of a deal once it kind of gets trained and kind of wants to sit that way because you've put it up that way quite a few times. But in a windy time, it can be a mess to get all in there. You just kind of, one time I had to fight with it for about 30 minutes, but it's usually a quick and easy process. If I had to say one thing that's made this product less conducive for a fifth wheel use though, it's going to be the 1-inch aluminum rails that go around the top of the truck rails. Now I will say that I've only had contact with the fifth wheel once there underneath the fifth wheel to that rail, and that was a very controlled environment. I knew what I was getting into, and I was somewhere where I'm 99% sure you'll never have your fifth wheel. However, there is another part to that that's a little bit worse, and that's going to be the part that's on the very back here. I'm going to show you a close-up, but this is where the tailgate strap, it's got a strap on here that holds that tailgate bar in, and this does stick up about another inch, and it's kind of sharp and pointy. So I have had that pop through the phylon that's on the underside of my fifth wheel. But like I say, that's areas that a lot of people aren't going to go to, and I kind of do a little bit more than most people. But there can be some elevation change going in and out of campgrounds. Now, after we raise the camper up a couple of inches, I've not seen any contact there going down any grades at all. So I think that took care of it. But that is one thing that's going to be the biggest thing in my mind that you're going to have to think about before you go to a system like this. Now, I'll also say that I use the Anderson hitch and I don't have the ball set on the highest setting. So that could also give you a little bit more room there for your rails. But personally, I like the way that it rides right where it is. Now, the last negative thing that I have to say about this, and it's not really about this, it's about idiots that run around and do stupid things. And so, like I told you, this is kind of out of sight, out of mind as far as the protection that this offers anything in your truck bed, because it is a soft top. Well, on these groups that I'm in, I see pictures sometimes of some idiot just going up and slashing the topper right above the buttons. Like, if you're gonna steal my stuff, steal my stuff. There's like, even if you're going, I guess if you're going to steal the topper, I can't gripe about it too much because I know that that's an inherent risk. But if you're going to get in the truck, pull the buttons. It takes less effort than it does to cut the dadgum thing. Just pull the buttons open. All right, so let's talk about some maintenance issues that I've had. With anything, any pop-up camper or anything Jeep top, you know, one big thing is always making sure that your toppers is dry before you fold it up, because you can have some mildew and stuff. If it's not, you know, I'm not always in a time where I can really pick and choose when I'm going to put it up, because I do put it up whenever we're hauling the camper home. And then a lot of times the camper stays hooked up, which should, if you put it up wet, you should unhook and pull out and deploy the top and let it dry off. And so it was my fault, but I did have some mildew on there for a little bit. Now, what I did to combat the mildew is I took a pressure washer with a very wide angle tip, because I didn't want to be too crazy and cut a hole in it, but I went over it and it got a decent amount of the mildew off, but I still had a little bit there. And there's still a hint of it there, but it looks a lot more gray than black like it did initially. But I did go over it with a 50-50 like bleach water mixture, and that took most of the rest of it off. I didn't leave it sit on there but for 2 or 3 minutes, and then I washed it off with the pressure washer. So all in all, I've been very happy with my soft topper, and I plan on using it for the foreseeable future. I really like having the option to have some dry storage in the camper, especially if you're in one of those situations where you're going to have some firewood or something like that. I don't have to worry about it getting wet. But all in all, it works for me. I highly recommend it. One other pro tip that I would recommend is if you are interested in like a soft topper or any like big truck accessory like that, even the tonneau covers or anything, because all those things cost about $1,000 and they're all expensive. But I would try my darndest to find one used that fit the bed size of your truck, which I did find a couple, but they were like way far away, so it wasn't really that conducive. But I'm telling you, you can find a major deal if you get it used. And if you actually end up selling it, your butt's going to hurt a little bit, because you're going to lose quite a bit of money, because ain't nobody going to give you $1,000 for that thing. But thanks guys for sticking around, and be sure to hit that subscribe button. Follow us for next week's video.
not forget to hit that subscribe button.